that I'm a professional jump roper.
Okay.
Because that is to me, that's really exciting. I didn't always even think that was an option. And I'm still working hard to make it an option, but I am full-time teaching and performing jump rope, in addition to some other circus skills that I picked up from doing jump rope.
So what are other circus skills?
We also do a teeterboard act, which is like a giant seesaw. And so one guy will jump on the seesaw and it launches the other dude up, and you do some flips and stuff and land back on there. And we've actually made this brand new act that has jump rope on the teeterboard, and we're doing tricks that nobody else in the world is doing. We didn't start doing shows with that until about a year of training. We were going in like once a week, training at this guy's gym. It was pretty cool. It was pretty funny how we got started with them too. We were working a different circus contract doing jump rope, and these guys were like, "Oh, have you guys tried teeterboard? Like, you guys would love that." I was like, "I don't even know what that is."
Yeah.
Well, I know these guys in Orlando, which is where we're living now. You should go train with them. So we called them up. We're like, "Hey, can we try doing teeterboard with you?" Like, "No, we don't train people. That's not really a thing. Like, we don't have classes for that." Like, "Oh, okay. We just wanted to try like this jump rope thing on there." And we sent them some videos, and they're like, "Oh, okay." Like, they kind of saw the vision we were going for, and they're like, "Okay, we'll work something out." So
Yeah.
been training with them now, and now I'm working with them full time, and it's been almost 2 years with them. Wow. I always tell people it's working 2 jobs, but one of them you get paid for, because
Okay.
one of them is actually, performing and, teaching and doing those things. But then the other half of it is actually making the jobs, reaching out, selling the shows, making the shows, and finding different ways to make jump rope a full-time career.
Yeah. So you're a performer and the sales guy? Or
Yeah.
one of them?
Yes, and we make it, and I've spent time selling jump ropes before. I've spent time doing really anything you can think of jump rope related.
Yeah.
We've gone to CrossFit gyms and taught double under workshops. We've explored every avenue we could think of.
So what, dream a little bit, like go down the road, I don't know, 5 or 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
What's the long-term goal, or what would you want to have stick, I guess?
So what I'm doing right now at a bigger scale, so the company I'm working for now, We Flip Entertainment, we are making shows with them and selling them. If I could get to a point where we have so many shows going on that we're managing multiple groups, we've got multiple groups of jump ropers going in and out, because we're getting pretty close to that now. I think that would be a long-term career that I could continue even past the point where I couldn't jump rope myself anymore. I wish I knew. Honestly, here's the thing. I used to think it's like, once I'm out of high school, I probably won't train it anymore. I'll be done. And then I was super wrong about that. I'm still getting better every day. Then I was like, probably after college, I'll finish school. I'll go do another, I started college going into computer science, which is pretty far from what I'm doing now. But, I figured, I'll be done after that time. Because I won't be training it as much anymore.
Right.
But now I'm still doing it, and I'm working with some people far older than me. I know that I was working with Lee Rising for a long time, and he's in his 30s and still flipping and jumping just as well as everybody else. So you can definitely do it for years. One of the guys I do teeterboard with now is 41. So.
Wow.
I've been impressed, and I think as long as I take care of my body and keep stretching and playing it safe and playing it smart, I think I'll have a pretty long career. Actually, yeah, I used to think really similar, just because the only people who stuck with jump rope are the people who started when they were younger, and I didn't really see a lot of people starting at a later age. But it was really cool in the last maybe 5 years. There's been a collegiate league where college jumpers or people who have jumped their whole lives started a team at their school.
Right.
And so we're seeing for the first time people who started their freshman year but then continued doing jump rope throughout their entire college career, who are now indistinguishable between some of the people who have been competing their whole lives, which is so cool because that really hasn't been seen before. Just this last year or 2 years ago, I guess, at the collegiate tournament when I went, it was something really special to see, you know, some of these guys who just started in college, but were cranking out some big tricks, and like they just really were loving the jump rope culture. I think the one word that is the most important is just passionate. I think a lot of the things I do now are driven by my passion for jump rope, or just for my passion of creating. Like I said, I started with computer science. And while I don't want to say that was an easier route, it was just the one that made more sense to me at first. And I'm glad I didn't choose to stick with it. And I'm glad I chose to follow what I was really passionate about, because I feel like I would have regretted not trying it if I did. Passionate, and I would just say different, just because I think I actively try to do things differently. That is one of like the driving forces behind a lot of the decisions that I make. I just want to do things in a different way, or in ways that haven't been done before. And I guess that goes along with the passion, but it really is always going to come back to the passion for it. I found the most joy in creating in jump rope. Besides jump rope, my other passion is making videos. And the thing I loved the most about both of those things is the room for creativity. In jump rope, since it's still, I don't want to say it's so new, because jump rope has been around, you know, for a while, but the sport itself is still pretty new. It's pretty developing. There are so many tricks to be done still. You know, there is infinite jump rope tricks, because you can always add one more revolution or one more cross or something. So there's so much jump rope that just hasn't been done. And that was just a big draw for me, something like that really gravitated me towards jump rope rather than any other sport, because you can really develop your own unique style. And you don't even need to be jumping that long to have your own recognizable style. You know, in just a few weeks, I'd say you could get a few tricks down and start to develop your own style that's unique to you, that could be recognizable. And I think that's something really special. Everybody has their own different jump rope voice, you could say. That same kind of style for making videos, you know, you create your own voice, your own, you know, style of videos, and everybody's different in that aspect. And I think just because I fell in love with both of those ideas, it carries over to my other habits in life, trying to do things differently and unique, and keeps things fresh, you know?
Yeah. So when you say differently, is it like necessarily in a certain direction, like harder? Or is it just brand new, different, or just?
I think brand new.
Everybody else is doing. Like.
I think I like brand new. That's a good way to describe it. I like to do things that I like to try to do things that haven't been done yet, or things that are just new for me. It doesn't have to be stuff that nobody else is doing. Just things that I haven't done already.
Okay. You like to push the limits a little bit, see what you're capable of.
Push the limits of not only just like, you know, jump rope and video making, but just pushing the limits of what I've already done. And I decided to stop going to school for computer science and move to Orlando and like start doing this full time, because that was a huge jump for me. No pun intended.
There you go.
Like it is really quite the leap of faith, right? Because it's a career that isn't really established, you know, and telling my parents about it, right? Like, yeah. Hey, I'm going to stop doing this, you know, really established career, and I'm going to move to Florida with a bunch of other dudes who also feel like this is going to work, you know?
Right.
But I wouldn't trade that for anything. And I'm so glad I did it. And I'm glad I found a group of guys that were willing to really work hard and make it happen. I was super fortunate to have supportive parents. They were pretty involved with jump rope growing up. My mom now is actually the head coach of the Kangaroo Kids, which is the name of the jump rope team that I grew up on. So they've always kind of seen the vision. It was funny though, she'd always tell me things like, oh, you know, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Why don't you try some other sports too? We've had those talks before where it's like, you know, there isn't really any scholarships in jump rope. I mean, there are now a little bit, but like when I was growing up, that wasn't really a thing. And
Yeah.
She's like, why don't you try these other things too? Why don't, but no, I was at the gym every single day, 7 days a week, or doing shows or something. But she saw that I wasn't going to like just move here and just mess around. She knew that I was going to work to make it happen. And so she was pretty supportive of it. And it did help that I had already been doing it for a while as a job. I got my first jobs with flight crew jump rope. I started in high school. I did just like a couple weekend things. And by the time I was going to college, it was like, maybe twice a month I was flying out to do something. And so it made it pretty apparent that it was possible. And I would be wrong to not say like, shout out to flight crew for like showing me that it's possible, because before them, I don't really know of any groups personally that like had that level of career worthy work. There was a lot of back and forth. I think I wouldn't have done it if it weren't for I had just gotten a job with Cirque Dreams Holidays, which was going to be like a 2-month long circus contract. And so I decided to take that semester off. And once I took that first semester off and like settled into like a job, that's when I realized I could do it a lot longer. So it was that. And then even afterwards, there was a long period of like, I don't know if this is the right decision, because for about 6 months, there wasn't much going on, because it takes time to set something like this up. Like I said, it's those 2 jobs. And so when you're only working the first one, the one that's not paid, where you're just making the work for 6 months, it's like, ooh, I don't know if this was the right move, but sitting on the other side of it now, I'm like, oh yeah, that was the right move. Once I started, really getting into it, there wasn't any times where I was thinking, I got to go back. It was just, I got to do more to make this happen. Like once I was in it, I was all in. Minus those first 6 months where I was like a little unsure. Once we started getting the work going, I knew that it was possible. And I knew that it was really just up to me to make it happen. I couldn't just rely on everybody else around me. And that being said, while I don't want to rely on the people around me, I'd be lying if I said they didn't do a lot to help me. I do appreciate the jumpers around me and the amount of work that they put in, and just the motivation that they help provide, because it's a team effort. It's really cool. This would be a hard thing to do on your own, and I appreciate all those guys who are helping me out. Probably not. I think that there's so much of jump rope that I love that requires more than one person, like double dutch, and a lot of the acts I do, I haven't done any real solo acts. Everything I do has at least one other person involved. And just because of the nature of the acts that I do, I don't think I would be able to do it just by myself. But I think that's one of the reasons I love it so much, because I don't know if I would love all the, traveling and working and doing these things if it was like just by myself, because then it's like every month or two you're cycling the people you're around. You don't get a lot of long friendships. So it's really nice to have like a core group of guys that you're hanging out with all the time. It's funny because I didn't even realize it was going to be an option. Like in high school, no counselor said that to me, because I was sure I was not going to do, well, I wasn't sure I was not going to do it. It just like the idea of professional jump roper didn't ever occur to me as an option. I was going to school. I was, I'm going to go to school. I'll do computer science. Jump rope will be fun. I can do that on the weekends sometimes, It'll just be something I do for fun. And it wasn't until I started doing like a couple of those weekend gigs that turned into a little more. One thing that I haven't even mentioned yet in this interview that is so huge is We Jump Rope and what that was to me. We Jump Rope is the brand I started with a couple of guys from the Kangaroo Kids back in 2016. We wanted to make cool YouTube videos. We wanted to make parkour videos actually, and we started because that's when there was like a big thing. We probably made one and then watched it back and we're like, well, never mind, that's not for us. We're like, if only there was something else, cool, and like you can get creative with the movement that we've been training forever. Oh wait, jump rope, let's do it. So that's how We Jump Rope got started. It was a failed parkour project. And we fell in love with it pretty quick. And that's I had been making some videos beforehand, unrelated, but that's when like the jump rope and the video making and everything just kind of combined.
Okay.
And the first like professional shows I did were with We Jump Rope, was with those guys. We got our YouTube videos were viewed by some people in New York who hired us to do like a private party.
Okay.
And that was the first time I was like, oh my gosh, wait, you can like actually do this. Like I didn't really realize it. And so I started working more, talking to like schools. We figured out a couple school shows where we'd go and teach jump rope to all the kids and then do a performance for the school. And then just shortly after that, I started doing things with Flight Crew. And I was already in my freshman year of college then. So between when I realized it could happen and when I actually moved to make it happen was only like a year. But I was worried that jump rope would be a short career. I was thinking maybe 25. Like I had no reference of how long you could jump rope.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like, okay, I go to college, I finish school. That's like 3 years of prime jump rope time, 4 years of prime jump rope time I just missed out on because I was waiting. But I was thinking, I could go to school when I'm 30. Like, I could keep learning. Like, there's no stopping to that. I could go to school when I'm 50 if I wanted, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I figured if I want to do the jump rope thing, if I want to even just try it, maybe it won't work. But I'm going to have to try it or else I'm going to regret it forever. So it's going to have to happen right now. And that was a big part of my decision-making process. It was very time sensitive. Our biggest help right now is videos. With each act, we make a 1-minute teaser that will show off the highlights, the general feel. Nobody's going to watch your full act. Nobody's going to sit down and watch an 8-minute YouTube video to figure out if they like you. So it's got to be your biggest, your best stuff, very flashy, very fast.
Mm-hmm.
Something that we've had a lot of practice making as we've been making TikToks, you know, and Instagram videos, things that are like, you got to put big stuff really fast or people are going to be disinterested. Really similar idea, just short attention spans. So you make those videos and then you can pitch them. There's a couple different ways to get discovered. These We Flip guys that we're working with now had already been doing teeterboard shows with a couple of these places. So we had some connections there. There's a lot of entertainment agencies that you could pay and they will find work for you. We don't really do that as much anymore, but you know, that's another way people do it.
Yeah.
So there's plenty of ways to go about doing it. Sometimes there's even auditions that you can just show up to with an act. You sign up and show them what you got.
Okay.
But that's why I said it. You know, it's those two jobs. It's a lot of work to get people to see your shows and be willing to pay for it. But when it works, it's great. I mean, there's a lot of things that help, like to show that we're an established entertainment company. We're insured. We've existed for a couple of years and we've got a track record to show of other jobs we've done, of other circus gigs we've done. Having that resume helps a lot. But that's another thing that, you know, we've all been getting better at. That's part of the job that we don't realize. Is just being able to talk to people and being able to seem professional and having those conversations. Because you wouldn't really be able to sell the show without those skills too. Mm-hmm. So, you know, you could be the best jump roper ever, but you won't be able to get jobs if you can't be that people person, if you don't have someone who can, you know, talk backstage for you. And so we found that by developing those skills while developing our jump rope skills, that's what it takes really to make a successful career in jump rope. There's a couple different things. So jump rope as an exercise. Well, first, if you've tried it, you'll know that after 30 seconds, it's difficult. Like physically, jump rope is hard.
Yeah.
And then if you take into account the actual things we're doing with the jump ropes, we're combining it with other arts like flips and, you know, juggling and whatever else you could think of. It gets to be not only physically demanding, but also it relies heavily on skills, you know, on really particular movements that you have to train that you wouldn't just be able to just do. And then on top of that, one of the big differences between competitive jump rope and performance jump rope is keeping it exciting for an audience and performing. Everyone, or I don't want to say everyone, a lot of people can jump rope. A lot of people can't jump rope for 6 minutes while smiling, you know? There's that whole aspect to it where, you know, yeah, you can do a triple under with a cross, but can you do it while you're standing up and wearing a costume and with a big smile and while you're moving and to music? That's like a whole level on top of the skills themselves that I think a lot of people will overlook. That's a skill that even some really good jump ropers now, I think, would have a hard time making it in entertainment work, just because they're not used to that. They haven't, it takes practice to be able to perform your skills, not just do them. But also the motion of it. If you've seen the skills they're doing, they're not easy skills.
Sure, yeah.
I think that's one exciting thing to tell people about, I love to show people a video of jump rope, of what I call jump rope, if they haven't seen it before. Because I'll be like, oh, I do jump rope, and shows like, that's cool. I used to jump rope, when I was 12. It's
right.
Like, yeah, it's a little bit different, We'll do things, we jump up in the air, the rope goes around 4 times per jump, we're doing a backflip with the rope crossed behind our knees. It's like, it's a little bit different than what people have seen before, which is why I love it.
Yeah.
I feel so passionate about sharing it, because there was a time when somebody did that for me. When I was really young, but I saw a jump rope show for the first time, and I was like hooked. I was like, that was so cool. It was so different. I've not seen anything like that before. And it made me start doing classes, which brought me to pretty much every opportunity that I value so highly for the rest of my life. So having the gift to be able to share that with other people and create those experiences and create those opportunities for others I feel so lucky just to be able to do that. So I really, really love, and I'm so grateful for those sharing opportunities and jump rope workshops. Everybody's got to go to one, man. Everybody's got to go to one. I really love video making, and I really love jump rope. Jump rope itself is a hard thing, but what made it easier to stick with it is to find and really buckle down and focus on the parts that I love about it. There was times when, maybe jump rope felt a little stale to me, or I wasn't, actually that's not true. I've always loved it all the time. But there's times where it was harder than usual, but by, setting aside what I thought I didn't like and really focusing on the parts that I did like, it made it a lot easier. And setting aside time to make these videos and do the parts that I loved helped me stay motivated. And that's pretty general advice, and doesn't stick so well with jump rope, but I think that can resonate with some people. One of the really special things about jump rope and our act is that I find that it is one of the most relatable. Because in the circus shows we do, there's a lot of crazy stuff that happens, a lot of really insane tricks.
Yeah.
But and this is what I've heard from somebody before, and they just an audience member said this, and it stuck with me, that like we watch those contortionists go up in the air and then bend, and we're like, wow, that's impressive. We see those guys juggling like 40 things and bouncing on their head, and we're like, wow, that's impressive. But then when we see you guys, we're like, wow, that's really impressive. But the extra special part of it is we can see ourselves jump roping, because we've jump roped before, so we can truly appreciate that skill. A lot of people have tried jump rope when they were a kid, and it gives that nostalgic, fun energy to it. Plus, you can really appreciate how hard it is. I could watch 2 videos of guys doing, soccer juggling, where they're kicking the ball around. I could watch them both and think they're both really impressive, but I wouldn't really understand which one is more impressive. I just think they're both really cool. But since people have tried a little bit of jump rope, you get a sense of how impressive it is. You're like, wow, you get that extra wow factor because you can understand, or you've tried it, you see how fun it is, and you see how impressive it is. Generally more relatable. Yeah, it gets that nostalgic edge to it. People have had fun trying double dutch in the past, so when you see us smiling and doing double dutch, it gives it a little more kick than I think a lot of the other acts will have. Just the whole idea of working on a business, and kind of doing our own thing, that is something that has changed me, I think, for the better. It's made me realize, I said this once before, but I think it'll really ring true to this moment. It's up to me to make things happen. A lot of times I felt like I was going to school, and the track was laid out for me. I was going to elementary school, middle school, high school. I was going to go to college. I was going to do this job. I felt like there was a big track for me. And I felt like by making these decisions, I'm making my own path. And that really influences the way that I act, and it just overall changed me for the better. I feel more in control. I feel more driven, because now it's not like I can't just float along anymore.
Right.
If I'm not making things, if I'm like, don't set aside time every day to make things happen, it's not going to happen. Mm-hmm. I can't just wait for other people to make it happen, or else it's not going to happen. I have to make it happen, which is both scary and really awesome at the same time. It wasn't given to me in the form of advice, but it was other people, older people, telling me that they regret not doing similar things. People saying that they regret not taking those risks and doing what they love. I find that a lot of people I would talk to didn't regret things that they did, but it was things that they didn't. And so that was a lot of advice that was important to me, even though it wasn't really advice. It was just, stuff they regretted. But the biggest driving factor for me, I think, was the guys I moved in with and the people I surrounded myself with. By surrounding myself with people with similar goals, who also believed in the vision, who also were ready to take the steps to make it happen. It helps you stay motivated every day, because you could get, knocked down for 6 months, but if you're around 6 people that are still getting up every day and ready to go, it really helps. It right. Changes you, yeah. If this is a hard thing that they chose, they should keep in mind that they would regret not choosing it. A lot of times the harder path is the most rewarding. Mm-hmm. So at the end, they would regret the other option. And then the other advice is what I said before. If you can surround yourself by people who are also dealing with similar situations, or dealing with the situation in the way that you wish to be, surrounding yourself with role models, I think is important. Having role models, I think, is important. Those are all ways that helped me get through hard times and help me through good times too. Recently, where I'm at, it's just like getting through the no's, like NOS,
right,
to find the yeses. Like making work and making it happen, you can get a yes 1 in 10 times. And what I'm talking about specifically is like making jobs and selling shows, but I think this extends beyond this. Getting a yes could only happen 1 in 10 times, but it's like, then if you do it 100 times, you're still going to get 10 yeses. It's like being able to look past all the 90, denials, the 90 rejections, and just valuing those 10 acceptance and 10 yeses, I think is a hard thing to do. It's hard to get through rejection that often, but as long as you're valuing those successes there or the hope of successes, I think it's important. I think that's hard, but it's worth it. I think that's something that jump rope teaches so well. Just because it is mostly failing, it is mostly missing, but you do get those big successes in there, just like skill by skill. Jump rope itself, there's one thing I was talking about on Nate's podcast. Nate has a great jump rope podcast. We were talking about making jump rope skills, and We Jump Rope has been known for a while to really have a pretty wide variety of new skills all the time. And what I was saying is, you get the new jump rope skills through a lot of bad ideas. When it comes to these ideas, it is quantity over quality. Because if you are waiting till you have that one really good idea, it's going to be pretty rare. But if you just come up with 1,000 ideas in 2 days, some of them are going to be great. A lot of them are going to be horrible, but some of them are going to be great. And I find it's the same way with all these other things. It's if you go quantity over quality, and you just are not afraid to have those failures, those bad ideas, and you just go. Some of them are going to work. It's absurd to say of those 1,000 ideas, none of them will be good, But right. If you're afraid to have any of those ideas because you only want the good ones, it's just not going to work. I think it gets easier. I think you get better at failing, which sounds funny, but you get better at learning from failures and realizing you don't need to take them so hard. Like I said, I think I learned that from jump rope, but it's like I still learned that and I'm still learning it. So you definitely get better at it. And I think that the more driven you are and the more you accomplish because of that drive, the more you accomplish, the more driven you become. So it kind of feeds itself. So I think it does get easier and easier. And there's times where there's setbacks, of course, but it gets easier. That perseverance muscle is totally a real thing. I felt that the most during COVID this year, because there's this last year, because there's 3 or 4 months where I couldn't do anything. And so like those first couple of weeks getting back into it, which it wasn't really getting back into it, it just stretched out forever. It's like learning how to work hard again and like getting committed again and put in the time again. Like that took effort. It was something that I wasn't used to because there wasn't a time where I wasn't doing anything for 4 months before.
Right.
So if you asked me that like 2 years ago, I probably would say no to that like perseverance muscle. I think you just have it or you don't, but that's not true. I think you do have to like work on that. I've been working on some new skills recently. New practices. So like I do jump rope now, and I've done teeterboard and this balance act called rollabola. I'm working on a new act, a ladder act, and this actually goes back to what we've been saying about like, do hard things get easier? I have to keep reminding myself that if I'm not good at it in 2 hours, that doesn't mean I hate it or that I should never try it again. I have to just think about the other things that I did, like jump rope and teeterboard. These things took years, and it helps me not get discouraged. I think years ago, or if I never did jump rope or teeterboard or these other things that showed me that I have what it takes to work hard and learn something, I probably would have given it up by now because it's just another weird skill. But because I had those other things to show that like, look, Devin, you worked hard at these things and look where it led you. It's been helping me stay driven to learn this ladder act.